Hello, thank you for joining us for the Philadelphia Museum of Art Contemporary Craft Show Artist Talk with glass artist Eric Serritella. Eric, I'm so excited to be joining you today, and I know we're going to hopefully get invited into your studio and hear a little bit about how you got involved with your craft.
Sure, and I'm really looking forward to the show. I'm in production mode right now, getting things ready. So come on into the studio, I'll show you around. So I'm Eric Serritella. I'm a Chapel Hill ceramic and glass artist. And some of you may know me from my ceramic trompe l'oeil work. I've been doing that since 2007. And that has been my primary artistic expression since then. I actually started art in, well, I guess in the mid 90s, but I became a full-time artist around 2000. So I actually had a corporate career. I have a degree in communications from Ithaca College and took a pottery class. I was just looking for a creative outlet and totally fell in love with clay. And then serendipitously, I decided to leave my job in the marketing advertising world, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I thought I'd been making pots for a while. I was a single guy at the time. So I had a stack of mugs and I needed a mug. So I decided to start selling them. So I originally turned it into a hobby that paid for itself. And then it became a part-time career while I figured out what was next. What was next never came. So I was a production potter for several years. And then living in Ithaca, I had the opportunity to study with Leon, who's a Taiwanese artist who came to Cornell on a fellowship. And he's internationally known teapot maker and trompe l'oeil artist. And so they opened up some workshops for the local potters, and he and I became friends. And so the night before I went back to Taiwan, I at this point had left my corporate job. I was 6 months or so into being a full-time potter, and I thought, who better to ask about my career? So I said, Leon, what's next for me as a potter? And he said, Eric, you need to make better pots. So I kind of held him to it a little bit, and I had the opportunity to go to Taiwan. He set me up with an artist residency there, and I studied with 4 different masters. I came back and was making better pots, and then decided to try a trompe l'oeil piece. So trompe l'oeil is trick the eye or fool the eye. And there's a long history, Chinese history of it. And so in the 1600s, they made little tiny teapots in a place called Yixing. And these little Yixing teapots were often carved to look like pumpkins and gourds and tree trunks to integrate nature into the tea ceremony. So I tried some of them. I actually got one into a museum show in Buffalo. It made the postcard. I sent the postcard off to Leon. I said, what do you think of me now? And he said, Eric, you better come back to Taiwan. Like, I'm going to stop this train wreck before it happens. So I went back to Taiwan, studied trompe l'oeil, came back, and then really built my reputation, sort of taking it to the next level. So of course I didn't invent carving clay to look like anything else, including wood. But I started to do birch trees, which is not something that was happening in China. And I put some contemporary form and contemporary scale to it. And that's part of how I built my reputation. Then during the pandemic, sales really dropped off, as was true for so many artists. So I took the opportunity of having no shows and no selling opportunities to do an artist residency at a place called Starworks in North Carolina. And it's a very artist-centered, not-for-profit. They have clay studio, glass studio, metal studio. And so I did an artist residency there. And I had the opportunity to work in both clay and glass. And that's when I really started to fall in love with glass as a new form of expression. And what I really fell in love with was discovering pâte de verre, which is paste of glass. Very old form where you use glass frit, which is powdered frit. And where glass typically is meant to look really nice and beautiful and shiny, I was bringing in the wabi-sabi concept of Japanese ceramics. Wabi-sabi is the beauty of imperfection and impermanence. It actually comes out of Japanese tea ceremony. So I want imperfect pieces. I want these broken areas and these really crunchy forms. So I'm bringing in kind of the beauty of things as they get distressed. And these are really made to be in the sunshine. Let me show you how one of them looking at your window. So they really are beautiful when they're backlit. And it's all of this in here that I'm trying for. This broken, peeling, dripping glass. So again, I kind of want that distress. And like my trompe l'oeil work, which is focused on nature, my glass work is also focused on nature. So I've got a couple of different themes within the glass work. And so one has to do with coral reefs. So all have to do really with sustainability and what we're doing to the planet. So this is another quintessential piece. I'll set this down in the sun and you can see the beautiful light coming through, all of this distress. And I want to bring in everybody's senses as they experience the piece. So not only do they see the beauty of the destruction that happens, in other words, no matter what we do to the planet, nature's still going to be beautiful. But I want you to taste the sea salt and be able to smell being at the sea when you see a piece like that. Our second series is about pollination and pollinators and the importance of bees for our food supply. And so there's a series that are based on flowers and flower colors. What's been really fun for me with the Pat de Verre is the exploration in color. So when I was doing trompe l'oeil, I'm working in black, brown, and white, and I did that for 15 years. In fact, I'm still doing that. But it's been really fun to explore color in glass. That's been really exciting. And then the last series is the amphibian series, and that's really focusing on amphibians as an indicator species about telling us what's going on in the ecosystem. And as I was developing that, I got into some forms that I call Nouveau Gothic Zen. So it's really kind of bringing in elements of those three art forms in terms of the actual form. So the color is the color, but then the form itself and some of the accents in the form are really based on kind of Art Nouveau, kind of Gothic art, as well as contemporary art. So it's really a hybrid of the three of them. Let me show you how those are made. So for the Pat de Verre pieces, everything starts in clay. So I work often on the potter's wheel, being a true potter. And so then I'll take a bowl or a form and I'll alter it. So I'll change the shape when the clay is wet. And then that clay is cast in glass. And so I use a plaster to do that. Here's how it would look. There's a clay bowl inside the plaster. The clay is then taken out and left with an empty mold. So the tea bowls have kind of been to honor my ceramic tradition and history, but I'm also working in bigger sizes and other forms. So I'll have a wide variety at the show. So once the casting is made, then the Pat de Verre or pasted glass part comes. So I can choose the colors I want from a wide variety of glass frits that come in different sizes. This is actually a powder. And the powder is what goes in first. And that's what puts in the initial color. And that's sifted into place. And this is the real time-consuming part. It's a really fun part, but it's also very, very time-consuming. So different colors can be built up as they're sifted in. And then on top of that goes the actual Pat de Verre or paste of glass. So it's that same glass frit, and then it's got some gum arabic and water in it to kind of make it sticky. And then that's put in place and then compressed or patted down into place. Again, very time consuming as it's built up in several layers, but also very meditative, not that different from wheel throwing pot after pot after pot. You kind of get into that Zen sort of mode. So this entire thing would then get filled and then it would be put in the kiln and fired. And then what comes out are those beautiful tea bowls or other forms as those get made. Another thing I'm doing in glass is I'm combining fully cast glass along with my trompe l'oeil work. Let me show you an example of that. And so here, up in what's left of the sun, you can see outside of lots of inspiration right from my studio. So I'm actually making a trompe l'oeil base out of clay and then casting a platter on top. So I'm carving the platter to look like wood, but not in terms of being trompe l'oeil. It's meant to be more abstract as the light comes through. And I've done different colors of glass as well. And so I'll have some of those at the show. And again, really beautiful setup in a windowsill where light can come through. Let me briefly show you how those are made. So the first thing I do is make the bases out of clay and they're fully fired. So this would be trompe l'oeil base. Then after they're fired, and they need to be fired first because clay shrinks. After they're fired, I press into place a clay form. And then I pull it out, take my carving tools and carve all the details. That is then cast in a mold material. And that allows me to make multiples. In case this doesn't fire right, because it's an exact fit, I'd have to start all the way from scratch. So if it doesn't fire properly, I can recast in here. So I'm putting wax in here. I'm using lost wax method, putting wax in here and then melting it out. And so here's another example on my computer screen of a combination of a glass kind of platter, in this case turned upside down, carved to look like wood, with a tiny Yixing teapot on top. And that glass is also fired in the kiln, but to a higher temperature. So those pâte de verre pieces are fired to a low temperature. That's how they keep that crunchy feel. It's actually called sugar firing. And I have a little bit of a surprise for you today. So I emptied the kiln yesterday, I took some work out, and in the middle of it, I thought, hey, should make this like a kiln opening. So I'm gonna invite you into the garage and take the last piece out of the kiln and see what we have. So here in the kiln were 4 different molds with the glass inside. And what that is on top is talc, and that helps keep it matte. It would get shiny if that talc wasn't in there, but the talc prevents it from getting too shiny and keeps that matte surface I like. So the first step is we dump out the talc. And then we're going to divest the piece from the mold. This is the scary part. And I don't know what we're going to get. I mean, I know what the colors are, but I never know how it's going to crack. It's kind of fun after years of being controlled in clay and every single crack is carved into my trompe l'oeil work. Now I don't know where the cracks are going to be or how they're going to be. So that's how it looks when it comes out of the kiln. I'm going to give it a quick rinse and we'll see its true colors. This looks like a real dynamic one. So again, that one is based on that coral reef series. And I want to have the feel of the ocean, the smell of the sea salt, the long view. And that's that. So I will have a full booth of these for the Philadelphia Museum of Art Contemporary Crafts show. I'm really looking forward to it. It's exciting for me to be exhibiting in a new medium, so I'm really honored to be there. And while I was unloading the kiln last night, I thought of something fun. So I'm going to give 2 offers to everybody. The first is if you get something, want to order something in advance to be sure you have it, then I will give you a 15% discount. So just contact me and I'll take care of making sure work is set aside for you. And if you still feel like you need to see it in person, come into the booth. And when you see it, if you say to me, holy frick, Eric, that's really cool, then I'll give you a 10% discount right on site. So it's a little incentive for those of you who stuck it out all the way through. So if you want to see more of my work, you can go to my website, which is ericserritella.com. And you can follow me on social media. All the links are on there. And if you are interested in seeing work beforehand, not everything is up on the website because I'm right in the middle of production now, but I certainly can send you pictures of any available work, including what's on the website. So I thank you for coming to the studio today and joining me on this beautiful North Carolina day. And I look forward to seeing you in booth 511 in November. Stop in and say hi.
Wow, Eric, that was absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for the wonderful tour and the very exciting reveal at the end to your a stunning new piece as part of your collection. So thank you. And again, you can see Eric Serritella and his work at the Philadelphia Museum of Art Contemporary Craft Show at the Pennsylvania Convention Center in Exhibit Hall F. Thank you.